Hi Barbara, welcome. Hi Betty. Video wasn't out on because I was running late. I am so sorry. I'm here now and I'm really excited because, as you know, in March and April I've been working on bodice fitting or bodice drafting, and I've been teaching a lot of bodice fitting classes over the past month. I taught in a 3-day in-person class in March. I'm going to be with the Chicago ASG all day tomorrow on Zoom teaching bodice fitting, and then I'm jumping in the car and I am teaching for the for an ASG chapter in Pennsylvania on the last week in April. So I've been doing a lot of both drafting and fitting, and I'm really excited because because I've been immersing myself in all of this, I've had a lot of new epiphanies and different things. So the first thing I wanted to do today was share with you my muslin from the draft that we worked on last week. Hi, Rose Gold. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you finally caught a live on time. Welcome, welcome. So simultaneously, I was doing drafting, right? And then I was also doing fitting. So I want to compare the mobility issue of the sleeve. But when I was fitting my own shirt here, I never got the second sleeve on. And I just want to tell everybody, until you get both sleeves on, you're not 100% sure how things are going to fit, because if you've got one sleeve in and an armhole, what happens is the side with the sleeve pulls everything towards the sleeve side and you're not getting an accurate picture of how it's actually fitting with the sleeve. Hi RT Blades, welcome. So here is something that I want to talk about, and then we're going to compare mobility for between the two sleeves. This is my perfectly fitted shirt, and you can see it's not perfectly fitted yet. I was working on it and I got to a certain point, and then I popped the sleeves on, and you can see now what's happening is everything is pulling and it's too snug across here. But here's the interesting thing that I want to show you, and this is what we're going to talk about today after we compare mobility of sleeve. Hey Polly, welcome. All right, so let's talk about, just for a second, I want you to look at, I'm going to turn to the side, okay? And you can see that the fit of the shirt from front to back, the sleeve cap affects that, because really around here, through the armhole seam in the front and back, all of this is pulling. Now, the interesting thing is, welcome, Linda. Welcome, Andrea. Welcome, welcome. What I realized was I put a little dotted line, okay, here. This is where the tip of my shoulder is, where the joint is. So the sleeve is hanging off of my shoulder a little bit. Oh, Andrea, it's okay. I barely got started a few minutes ago. I was like 5 minutes late myself. So you're good. Everyone, don't worry. So the tip of my shoulder is right here where this inner lines are, and notice the armhole is on, this is still the ball of my shoulder right here, and when I feel in here, this is my shoulder right here. Okay, so this is still my shoulder. You don't want your shirt on your shoulder. So the reason why I think everything is tight is because the cap is maybe not wide enough, and the armhole is not deep enough here. Okay, so that's what I think is going on now that I have both sleeves on. I mean, there are so many issues when it comes to fitting a sleeve and a bodice. So first you have to get the bodice to fit. Then you have to get the sleeve cap to fit into the armhole, and then you have to also make sure the sleeve is fitting your arm by checking the bicep and all these other things. So looking at this is again my perfectly fitted shirt. I'm just gonna stand back a little bit farther so you can see. Okay, this is how it's fitting me. I mean, I'm close, but it needs a few things. The bust dart needs to be risen just a tad, maybe a 1/4 inch. And, you know, other than that, and fixing up here, and also lowering the neckline just a tad are the things I think I need. So let me show you the mobility of this. Okay, so you can see I can raise my arms pretty far without dragging my shirt, right? So the mobility is not bad. And I can do this. So I can do this. I can do this pretty well without it feeling too tight. Okay, so I can do these things in this shirt. Now I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to compare for you the sleeve I drafted last Friday. And I was very excited to get that going. First, this is how it looks on my ditto form. Okay, and you're going to see when it's on me, it's going to fit very similarly. So I'm just showing you that first. And then I'm going to put it on because I want to show you how it's fitting in the shoulder and, you know, the armhole and everything. So let me put this one on now. Now, one of the differences between my perfectly fitted shirt and this draft is the, this draft has an elbow dart and a much more fitted sleeve. So I'm just going to overlap this. Okay, and the easiest way to get this button shut, actually, for me, that I find, is if I overlap it 1 inch at the bust, then, because I have such a big bust, I can carefully pin into my sports bra to shut it like that. Okay, so this is how my muslin fit that I drafted, and I have to say, I think this one fits better than the perfectly fitted shirt. And I think the primary reason why I feel like it fits better is because I have a shoulder dart in the front. Okay, I've got shoulder dart, I've got bust dart, and I've got waist dart. So there's a lot of fitting, or a lot of things contributing to the shape of the cup. And I just think it's more flattering for my G cup shape. Now, again, I can lift my arms about this high. When I go higher, see what's happening? It's starting to spread away. But because I have the shoulder dart, I can bend my arm like this, right? So I can bend my arm. I could do this. I can do this. I really like this sleeve. But again, if we look really close, the ball of my shoulder is still right here. It's still, my seam is on the ball of my shoulder, and you can see that my shoulder length is about the same bit too long, my shoulder seam. So that's how those two things compare. And what I want to do now is I want to come over here and I want to show you the difference between the sleeves. And then I'm going to propose some adjusting here. All right. Rose Gold says, I have a weird issue with set-in sleeves. For some reason, the right side sleeve turns out perfect and the left side sleeve always has pulling issues. Could it be the way I ease the cap? All right, if you're having pulling issues, it depends on where it's pulling. If it's pulling from the shoulder and pulling down, it might be that you need more height in one of your caps, or it could mean you need more width in one of your caps if it's pulling. Every body, you know, the body, everyone's figure or body has different asymmetry. So it could be that you have a little bit of asymmetry there that's causing it. But I think even as I'm sitting here, I think you can see that this armhole, like this right here, is my shoulder, right? That's my shoulder. And I feel like the reason why this is also feeling a little tight here is because this armhole needs to be a little deeper here. And then what are you going to do? You can't just take, if I just take away some of this to bring it in and I don't adjust the cap, what's going to happen is it's going to be really tight because I've taken away and I haven't added. So my theory that I want to test today is that I want to try to fix this tension, I guess, and I want to make some changes. I also want to show you the difference between the two armholes because, I mean the two sleeves, because you know how people will say the higher your cap, the less range of motion you have. I really didn't notice that to be the case. However, I also feel like I probably could make the cap of my perfectly fitted shirt a little higher because of the new way that I'm measuring using the muslin versus a body measurement. So if you haven't been following along, I did a better way to do a cap height measurement on your body using your muslin for the muslin you're working on. So I'm going to move away from having a standard cap measurement that you just apply to everything, because the base of the armhole might not be the same. It might be a little higher, it might be a little lower. So if that's the case, the base of your armhole is changed, then the height is going to change as well. One thing that shouldn't change with a set-in sleeve is where you put that shoulder seam, which again, in both of these muslins, I feel like it's hanging too far off my shoulder. All right, Gross Gold says it's pulling at the mid and lower armhole area. All right, so that could mean that maybe you need a deeper armhole like I'm talking about here. This is pulling, okay? So both of my sleeves are pulling where you're describing. They're pulling in the middle and bottom of my sleeve. That's all very tight. And this is the one I drafted, but it's also feeling that way a little bit on my perfectly fitted shirt too that I've been working on. So what I want to do here now is show you, I'm just going to switch my view here to my table shot. I'm going to get this here so you can see. See, I can lift my arm like you see me in the little thing, but my shirt is flaring way out. Like I definitely need more mobility in the shirt. I'm going to take this off for now so I can work without being distracted. And actually, it's cold here today, so I'm going to put my raglan sleeve on that I love. So let me just put this back on so I can show you some things here. All right. Okay. All right, so let's first look at the sleeve situation. And what I did was, I took my sleeve, this is my perfectly fitted shirt sleeve. And you can see when I was fitting it, I increased the cap height about 3/4 of an inch right there. You can see I did heighten it a little bit, but that was using my standard body measurement. All right, Rose Gold, I don't know if it is the way you're adjusting the ease though. So just hang tight for a second. All right, so if I put the taller or the drafted, this is the sleeve I drafted last week. If I line those up like this, so the wings of the armholes are matching like this, and it's centered like this, what I did was I traced the cap of my perfectly shirt underneath. I also noted that my perfectly fitted shirt sleeve extended 5/8 of an inch on each side because I had 1 1/4 inch bigger across the bicep. And you can clearly see when I was wearing it that the perfectly fitted shirt had a looser sleeve, right? So the sleeve was looser. So it was wider here. So this section is wider, right? But look how much lower the cap was. So this is the raw edge, or the edge of the paper. So the cap on the one I drafted is 1 3/4 inches lower than my perfectly fitted shirt. Now, if you remember when I was showing how to measure, I was getting 8.5 for a cap height. So if we measure this is 8.5 inches, right? Let's measure this one again so we know. This measures 6 3/4. So I feel like if I added another 3/4 to this sleeve, then I could pick up the shoulder, right? Because what I'm thinking about here is, let me get my front to show you. So here's my front of my perfectly fitted shirt. So what I'm talking about here is if I put this like this, let's just put these together like this, right? So the so my notch is right here. So there's my notch. Here is my sleeve, right? So if you take a measurement from your center front and you wrap all the way around, you know, you can see that this is going to contribute to this. And if I want to pick this up, and let's just look at what I marked on my muslin here. So when I was wearing my shirt, I really felt like, if we look at this, I really felt like my shoulder needed to come in, you know, maybe 5/8 of an inch. I don't think it needs to come in quite that much, but I was just trying to mark what I thought. So my point is, if I were to, let's see, move this. So here's my stitching line right now. Okay. There's my stitching line right now. So if I were to say, all right, I want to move that in, let's do 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 3/4 here. So if I were to, I'm sorry, half, let's just do 3/4. Well, also, let me just measure what I have here right now. So right now I have 5.5 inches. I know that my shoulder length is really only 4.5 inches. So look what happens when I put my ruler at 4.5 inches from my neck right here. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing because my thing is in the way. Let me move this over. Okay, so I know my shoulder from the base of my neck to the tip of my shoulder is 4.5 inches. That puts me right here. Okay, so that technically should be my stitching line, right? But when I wore the muslin, there was no ease across. So what I want to do here is, let's try, I'm going to put my other camera back on for 1 second here. I'm just going to try to take a measurement. I'm going to measure, and this is something I've never measured before, but just for ha-has, I'm going to take this tape measure and I'm going to put it around my body like this. So I'm incorporating all of the outside arm and across the front and back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just divide it in half and figure out what I have on half of my body. So like if I just do this, okay, and I just want to measure, let me get it so I can see. Oops, because it's twisted. Hold on, sorry. Gotta get it so it's not twisted. Okay, so I'm gonna measure. When I measure all the way around, okay, so all the way around, you can see what I'm doing, right? I'm measuring this whole area, and you can see it's mid-armhole. Okay, so we're gonna go mid-armhole. And actually, let me put let me just see what this is. So I'm going to say that this is 50. Let's go with 50, like 50 and a quarter inches. And then from here, I'm just going to put a pin about where I was. And then I'm just going to measure. I think that was about like from the tip of my shoulder down my arm. I'm going to guess that that was about, about 5 inches down from the tip of my shoulder. So from here down to about there, and then I went across and I got like 50 and a quarter. So what I want to do now is, let's see if we can figure this out. And you know what? I think I'm going to use my draft, because my draft fits very similarly. So I am going to measure. Let's start by I'm going to use black for this. So let's measure down 5 inches. Puts me about here. So I'm going to measure what this is from here to here in my seam allowance. So this measures 9 inches. Okay, and then if I take my shirt and I measure down 5 inches, so I'm going to measure across right here. This measures 7 3/4, and then the front measures, and you have to shut the dart, right? So I'm going to shut my dart, and I'm going to measure down 5 inches. I'm going to measure across like this. So this measures 8 inches. So this is 8 inches. Okay, so I've got, so 8 and 8 would be 16, but it's only 7 1/4, so that's 15 3/4. 15 3/4 plus 9 is 15, so 24 3/4. So that sort of illustrates my problem, because remember, if I am 50 inches around here and around here, like if I'm 50 inches all the way around and my pattern only measures 24.5 for half of it, that means I am a half an inch short even to get it to go around comfortably, because half of me would be 25 1/8, right? So I'm a little bit short in my measurement. So I know, like if I measure my shoulder, and I just want to show you what I'm talking about here. So if I measure my shoulder from the tip of my shoulder, tip of my neck, actually I'm going to use this because then it won't bobble around. So if I measure right at the base of my neck to the tip of my shoulder, which I'm going to say is right there. So if I just do my neck to there, I'm going to get, 4.5 inches. So from here to here is only 4.5 inches. And then both of my shirts were sitting on, and I just want to show you on my shoulder here. So on my shoulder, you want to make sure that armhole comes up and comes to the tip of your shoulder. You don't want this ball right here should be in the cap, not underneath your bodice. So I think that's where my problem is coming. I have a big, I have a big shoulder. Look at how big that is, right? It's a wide, big shoulder. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to measure again, and I'm just going to feel for you know, where, okay, let me just take this off for a second. I like working with a tank top because I can see, I can put my outer straps where they need to be. So I feel like if my outer strap was, let's push it this way just a little bit. So something like that. Okay, so see where this is where I think my armhole edge should be. And I'm going to go ahead and just slide this one over as well, just a little bit. I'm going to get my armhole edge where I think it should be, somewhere like that. And then if I measure across from, I'm trying to do it so you can see what I'm doing, but if I measure from here, so let me get this, and I'm not going to use that, let me use this. All right, let me just see here. So I know it's like 14, and I'm going to be right here. I'm just going to reach across. I'm going to get as high up on my neck as I can, and I'm going to get these to be, you know, where I think they need to be, like that. And then if I measure across from here, straight across to here, and I see what that measurement is. So I would say it's like 14 inches if I get it. Yeah, like 14 inches, I think, is what I got when I looked in front of the mirror. Let me go look in front of the mirror. Hold on one second. All right, so 14 inches is where I can feel the joint. Like I can literally feel it right there. So 7.5 was the measurement I used because I gave myself a little bit of ease. Let me see how much it is on the draft. Let me just put my shirt back on. Hold on one second. So you do need some ease there, right? So you can't make it the exact measurement because you need ease. But basically now, if I measure, you know, under the base of my neck, 7.5, you can see puts me right here. Okay. So that's got a 1/2 inch of ease plus my actual measurement. So it's about 1/4 of an inch longer than it needs to be here. So that must mean that my cap here, I almost feel like this 1/4 inch of extra ease that I have in here, I don't really know that that would be the problem there, but remember my shoulder is too long. So I'm going to go ahead and close this dart and let's measure the shoulder. Now this shoulder is 4.5 inches. So I think the reason why on the muslin I drafted, it's pulling off of my shoulder is because this is not wide enough here. Because remember, I'm a 1/2 inch short for my body. So we're not going to add anything in to here on this one. So for this one, I'm not going to shorten my shoulder because it is 4.5 inches. I think what's happening is the cap width here needs to be a little bit wider to give me room to go around the outside of my arm. So in the drafted case, I think I need to add a little bit more width in my cap to give myself a little bit more ease. And I would say I need a 1/2 inch. I need 5/8 of an inch to make it equal to that measurement. So I'm going to say if I increase maybe 3/4 of an inch here that will give me the extra ease so this won't pull when I'm wearing it. Do you see what I'm saying? So I feel like this is wrapping around my arm too tightly and causing this part of the muslin to pull off of myself and onto my shoulder a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is, I had a really good amount of ease in this draft. So if we look at the actual draft, I had you know, I had 1.25 inches of ease in this cap. So when I measured from here to here, that's 1.25 inches. So I have a good amount of ease. So if I'm going to change this a little bit, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the cap a little bit, and I'm going to make it a little bit wider to try to give myself more ease around the outside of my arm. I think that that's probably what my problem is, because the front and back are pretty accurate for how it's fitting, except here, this 7 3/4 across my back. I know my across back is 15, so I only have 1/4 inch of ease here, because 7.5. So maybe what we'll do is I'm going to push this out a little bit to give me a little bit more ease here, and then I'm going to push this out a little bit to give me more ease here, so I can get that around the body measurement. And I think if I lower the cap a little, I think I have room to do that if I make it more wide. So that's what we're going to try, because right now it's really, really close, but it's not 100%. So what I'm going to do here is, I like to use, when I'm increasing here, what I like to do is I like to use the seam allowance method. So I am going to cut my seam allowance like this, and I'm going to make a pivot here, you know, into the shoulder, and I'm going to make a pivot here into my, you know, where my underarm seam is, and I'm going to cut across here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this out like this, just a little bit. And what's going to happen is we're going to overlap or shorten the back armhole just a little bit. I can tell how much I'm shortening it by how much these two pieces right here overlap. So I'm going to give myself an extra, I don't know, 3/8. Let's give myself an extra 3/8 here. So let's just use little strips of green paper so you can see it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm adding the ease that I need to wrap around my body. That's what I'm doing. So again, I don't need it in the front, but I think in the back I do, because this technically isn't my measurement. It's a little bit tight. So I'm going to go ahead and, oops. I'm going to measure, I'm going to tape this down like this. So see how I'm dealing with this first half right here. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to match it. And that's just going to give me a little bit more ease through my upper back where I need it. And I can see that I'm shortening the back armhole 1/4 inch. So that's how much the seam allowance is now overlapping. Okay. So that's going to give me some more ease here. Now I could do this to my perfectly fitted shirt pattern as well. I'm going to check that one as well, and I'm going to see what the differences are, but I'm really in love with this draft that I did. So I'm working with this one because I like the overall fit of this better than the shirt I was working on. That shirt has a very full sleeve with a button, with a cuff. So I'm going to go ahead and try this. It's a little bit of a different style. So I've plussed myself 3/8 here. So that equals to a total 3/4 inch plus for both sides, which brings me to 14, 15. So right now we're at 15 and a half. I'm adding 3/4. That's going to give me 16 and a quarter. So now my back will be 16 and 1/4 across. Half will be 7 and 7/8. So almost 8 inches in the back now. Okay. So I fixed that. Now for the sleeve, what I'm going to do is I am going to, all right, in the front, I'm not going to change it because, again, that 1/4 inch ease, I'm just going to leave that because now I have 8 plus 7 and 7/8, so I have 15 and 7/8. So let's say 16. So I need to have 25, let's say 26. So I need like almost another inch, and I said 3/4 initially, but I need to make this wider. So the way I'm going to make this wider is I'm literally going to cut this right here, because that's where I want to make it wider. I'm going to split this like this, and then I'm going to just use a little green so you can see. I'm going to spread this so it's 3/4 inch wider, like this. Okay, maybe that much. Okay, and then I'm going to split. So this is exactly how I would do the bicep if I needed more room on my bicep, except I'm splitting it up higher. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and I think I need a big piece of paper for that. I can't use my green. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to, and just to help me make it even, I'm going to make myself a line here, like this. So I can spread each side 3/8 of an inch. Or what is this? This is, I mean, that's almost an inch. All right, so I'm going to do a generous 3/8 here. So it'll be like this and like this. And then I'm going to just tape this side here. So I'm just going to put one piece of tape here. And then I'm going to bring this one in over here, like this. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm spreading the bottom of the cap the same amount as I spread the top of the cap. Okay, and all of this is I'm going to get it to lay flat down here. Okay, so I'm just taping it all the way down. like that. And then I'm going to put this back on like this. And you can see I'm going to overlap it. So let me cut this off like this. I'm going to overlap it so the caps touch. And you can see I'm going to lose, let me just cut this off here. Okay, so if I line this back up like this, right, I am losing about a 1/2 inch of cap height. And I'm happy with that, meaning I'm okay with losing approximately a 1/2 inch of cap height, because I think the trade-off of having it be wider will be okay. But I have to walk it now to make sure it still fits into my armhole, because I shortened the back armhole that little bit. So let's just see what I end up with here. All right, so there's the adjustment. I added almost an inch here to give me more ease around the outside of my arm where I think it's pulling. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to darken in my 1/2 inch so I have something to follow that's accurate. So this black line is my 1/2 inch stitching line here. All right, so let's see how this walks now. Let's do the back first. Get a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just walk this around. And what do I have here handy to use? There's a stiletto. Oh, I can go in my Kenneth D. King bag. I don't know if I showed you this, you guys. I don't unpack my Kenneth D. King bag. That way, I can easily find my tools that I keep stored in there instead of losing them on my table. All right, so I'm just going to walk this around now. All right, so that's going to put me 1/2 inch is right here. Right here is where the back is right there. So here is my back. Okay, so my back sleeve took up that much. Then I'm going to walk my front sleeve. And my front sleeve let me start that over, sorry. Okay, so my front sleeve is right here. You can see right here. So if I fold back my allowance, here's my front. Now that's giving me that's giving me 2 inches of ease. I'm sorry, 1.5 inches of ease. That's giving me 1.5 inches of ease. The other thing that I'm wondering about this sleeve is I don't really have much flat. You see what I'm saying? Like, see how it almost jumps straight up? I'm wondering if I make a little bit more wing here, if that will also help. The base of my armhole is very narrow. Like if I were to pin these together, let me just pin them together at 1/2 inch. You can see what I mean here. If I line up my stitching lines, the other thing I think about this sleeve is it's a little bit narrow in the base of the sleeve. So if I lay this flat like this, okay, what I'm talking about is I feel like for me in my G cup, I need a little bit more base to get under my arm and around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my and this will actually make my sleeve a little bit longer maybe because I'm going to increase the curve. So what I want to do here is I just want to do like, I want to increase my curve a little bit. So like I'm going to use I'm going to use one of my erasable pens, so if I draw something bad I can switch it. But basically, I had commented about this when I drafted it. I feel like this is too flat here, so then if I do that, then I can come back up like this. So like if I cut this off like this, so see how I have more of a base of my armhole here? Now I just trim that little bit off, and that will make, you can see that this curved edge on the bottom is going to be longer than the original, right? So this bottom edge is going to be longer than that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to carve this out a little bit to give myself a little bit more flat or base of armhole. And then when I come here, I can then push this up. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off too. Okay, and I really didn't trim anything off, very little, you know, what I trimmed off there. Okay, so now if we walk it one more time, let's see what we have. So let's walk the front first. See, and the other thing is, when you draft a pattern, it's always nice to see that the curves match down here, and now they kind of match much better than they did. So, and again, I'm just eyeballing 1/2 inch so I can pivot on that 1/2 inch. Okay. So again, my shoulder in the front, let me also, hold on a second, I'm also going to trim this off just a little bit here. Make this a little bit scoopier, scoopy-dooped. All right, let me try that again. That's my front. My front. Okay. All right, so that didn't really change my front measurement. That stayed the same. Let me see if the back changed. I think if I scooped out the armhole too a little bit there. Let me measure the back with the back. Okay, so in the back, we're getting rid of a quarter. So my new back is right here. So now we're under 1.5 inches. So I'm going to try it and I'm going to see. So I'm really interested to see how this fits. Okay. All right, so anyone who wants to hang out with me and watch me just sew this together fast, I'm going to, because I don't want you guys to have to wait for the results. So I'm going to very quickly cut this out. And we're going to see if it improved my situation. So this is going to be like speed bodice sewing. I'm going to try to efficiently and quickly sew this. So if anyone's ever wondering how, oh, and the other thing is, because I trimmed these off of my sleeve, I'm going to keep these here just to remind me this is what I did. So I'm just going to tape these here for now so I have them. My little shape changes I did, I'm just going to keep those with the pattern. And then this piece right here was, I trimmed this off a little bit right here. Okay. All right, so to very quickly sew this together, I'm just going to use my muslin fabric. And let's see, let me just put this right here for a second. All right, so I've got my muslin. I am going to snip and rip enough to fit the front. Now I can fold my fabric in half. Now I don't have any curve in my center back seam, so to save time, maybe what I'll do is I'll cut this out. Well, in the front I have to have an opening, obviously, but let me just, all right, that looks good. Let's just cut this out quick. In the back, maybe I'll cut it on the fold just to save a little time. All right, so I'm just going to quickly cut this out. Okay. Okay. All right, and then this is how I mark my darts. If anyone's interested in seeing my entire process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one down like this, line everything up. This is why I like working with muslin and Sharpies, because you can even see, I think you can even see what I'm doing, I'm going to move me off screen for now. All right, so I'm just going to line that all up, and then I'm just going to put dots at the tips of all my darts, and I'm going to put a dot at the top of all my darts, bottom, middle, waist. Okay, so see how I've marked all these dots? Then I can come in with my ruler and just very quickly copy them like this. Now, I always curve this area in here. You never want that to be a point. Okay, so when you're transferring your fisheye darts, make sure you don't have a point there. Make that curved. Betty is asking me, where is the best way to buy muslin? I seem to have trouble finding a good, stable muslin fabric. I got this from Panda Trim. I bought a whole roll of it. It was $100 and something, but it's 50 yards on the roll. That's where I get mine from, Panda Trim in New York City. All right, so there are my darts. I'm just going to draw this right here. My waistline like this. All right, so there's one. And I'm just going to turn it over so I can get the other side. What do they do with my other front? Right, so we want a left and a right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it upside down. And even with it upside down, I can see where my darts are. So I can see, here's my middle, here's my waist, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this one, and that one. So again, I'm going to draw my waist, draw my waist dart. When I sew this together, I'm not going to sew the waist darts together because it's not going to affect how it's fitting at the shoulder and sleeve, just to save time. But fun fact, when I sew my waist darts, I start in the middle and I go to here, and then I start in the middle and go back down. So I always start in the middle and go in both directions to get a nice tip on the top and bottom of the waist darts, or any fisheye dart for that matter. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So for me, I am just having fun noodling around with this pattern and this draft, and I'm just trying to try all kinds of different ways to get, to get things to fit. All right, so there's my front is done. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this one. This piece right here will be for my sleeve. So I'm going to put that aside for now, and I'm going to cut out another another piece for my back now. And then I'll use the leftovers to cut out the sleeve, the scraps. So here's my back. So I'm just going to snip and rip myself another piece. Fold this. And then just to save time, because I know that I have a straight center back seam, I'm going to have the pattern hang out 1/2 inch. So that'll be one less seam I have to sew. Okay, so then I'm just going to cut this out. I think it's time to change my blade. Alright. Just make sure that's all nice and neat. Let me just cut this off. Okay, so because this is a full pattern, I'm just going to make a crease here. And just so we have a guide, or so you can see, what I'm going to do now is I am going to just mark that center line that I folded so we know my center back has a thing. Okay, so there's my center back. And then what I can do is I can take this, line up my center back line with the stitching line on the pattern like this. Get that all nice and neat, and then again I can mark the darts, the darts, the darts, the darts, the waist, and I'll just do this shoulder dart, and then we will just mark that. Like this, and then I'm going to mark my shoulder dart like this. Okay, and then I don't know if I can see it. Oh yeah, okay, so then if I fold it in half on my black line, and line everything up like this, then I could mark through my dart, 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 and my shoulder dart, shoulder dart, shoulder dart. Or did I mark my waist? Oh, I didn't mark my waist, so I'll do that in a second. All right. All right, so here is my back waist. And again, I'm going to curve these a little, right? We don't want those to be whatever, pointy. And then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to turn it back around, and I'm going to mark my waist, which I forgot to do. And then I can copy that across. This is why I like working with muslin, because I can see my Sharpie through the muslin. I will tell you, when I teach in-person classes, it takes students a lot longer to prep the pattern like I am. That always surprises me. Okay, so now I've got my back done. Last thing, I'm going to take these 2 scraps of muslin, and I'm going to line up my salvage edges here together, and then I can cut out my 2 sleeves. So basically I'm just going to line up my salvage edges from the other side of this, like this. So I know those are all, playing straight with each other. And we're going to cut out this sleeve. Just take my little boo-boo here. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm really excited to see how this turns out, you guys. So if anyone's still hanging out with me, I really appreciate you. If you had to go, I totally get that too. This is because we're definitely moving into way longer than an hour now. So I normally come on for an hour, but I want to see what this is going to look like. It'll only take me a couple minutes to sew it together once I have it cut out. Okay, and again, I'm going to have to just mark my elbow dart here. I think I am becoming a fan of the elbow dart. Oops. Okay. All right. So now I am going to, again, let's just put one of these on top of here. Like this. I feel like I cut a little crooked here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just mark my dart for the elbow. Oh, I'm going to use black. Okay, and then I'm going to mark my bicep line and my vertical line. And I suppose I can also continue this elbow level. Okay. Then I'm going to turn this one upside down, and just to make sure I can see, I'm just going to put dots so I can see what I'm doing quickly. And I'm going to put my other back on here. I'm going to mark my elbow dart, my bicep line, and then this line, and my vertical. And then I'm just going to draw that stuff in. All right, I already filled up a bobbin, so if I run out of bobbin thread, that won't take me a long time. I was trying to think ahead, anything I could do to make this go quicker. Let me just mark this. Okay. All right, so here, that is how I prep a muslin. Now we're going to sew it together, kind of speedy. I'm going to do some speed sewing. Well, as speedy as I can be to be as accurate. Oh, Carol is still hanging out with me. RT Blades is here till the end too. Thank you guys. You know, I'm just trying to think of all the things that you can do to add more ease or make things fit or whatever. I'm just trying to, you know, examine all the things. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my bobbin in now because I know I only have a little bit of thread left there. So let me just put this new bobbin in. That way we won't have to stop. Okay. I'm just going to make sure this doesn't get caught up with anything. Put that over there for now. All right, so here is how we're going to sew the muslin. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the darts on the sleeves. So basically, the other reason why I like Sharpie marker is because I can literally see that the dart legs are lined up, because I can see the dart leg through the fabric, you know, when I'm sewing, when I'm folding it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I get this as accurate as possible while also being speedy. All right, so there's the dart, and then I'm going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches, one at a close to the edge, and I'm going to use a 3.2 stitch length, and I'm going to make sure I have enough. I shouldn't have used my my cutter because I want to have a tail to pull it. So sorry about that, I screwed that up, but let me just get this here. All right, so again, I'm doing, why is that being crabby? Oh, it fell out of the take-up lever. Of course it did. All right, and I know there are some people are not here today because we have in Connecticut, in Hartford today, this weekend, the New England Quilt Show, I don't know the official name for it, but I did stop in to visit Eric. He was working in the Sew Jersey booth, which is his old boss when he used to be in New Jersey, and now he works at a fabric store in Connecticut. So he helped set up one booth and he's working at the other booth, and I went to visit him and I got to see all the beautiful quilts. There's a lot of nice quilts to look at. I really wish I had time to do quilting, but as you can see, my time is being taken up by fitting things. All right, so now I am going to try this one more time. So I do my gathering stitches really close to the edge and a pretty short stitch length. So I want the gathers to be small. So really close to the edge. Oh. Also, did anyone see me make a boo-boo? Let's say my front notch is here. You only gather between the notches, and I started at the underarm seam, so because I didn't write my notches down. So basically, when you gather, you're only gathering front to back. So let's pretend my back is there. Now notice I said let's pretend because I don't get excited about not having my notches, my front and back notches, because I know like the first 2.5, 3 inches of your sleeve should be not gathered. So basically, I don't really worry about that too much, and I'm just going to take the stitching out to here like this. Okay, so now, you know, when we gather, we only want to gather to the notches, not to here. Okay, so that was my boo-boo that is now fixed. And then we're gonna do 3/4 of an inch like this. All right, and again, I'm going to leave a nice tail. Okay, so there's the completed sleeve with the gathers. I'm just going to quickly do the other one. And now I should be in my mojo of sewing, and it should go faster. Okay. Again, I'm not going to fall for using my thread snip, so I can just have a long tail to gather. And again, let's pretend my notches are about here and here, so I don't sew all the way to the end. Now obviously, if you're working with a pattern that has notches, you can go ahead and mark those, and then you won't have to, on yourself. All right, so there is one gathering, and And then we've got the second gathering right here. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to sew my underarm seam, and I'm going to make sure the elbow dart is facing down, because when you put your sleeve on, you don't want it to be bugging your, hand and arm every time you put it on. So I'm just going to make sure those are facing down. So I'll start at the top like this. I'm just going to sew it a 1/2 inch. Oops. Uh-oh, I'm getting a little crazy here. I took a little curvy, wurvy. All right, see, there's a little curve in here, but I'm just going to let that go for now. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome, welcome. I'm sewing together the muslin that I adjusted the draft that I finished drafting last week to make more room. And I took around the body measurement, like around the outside of the arms, back, and high bust, to get an idea of how much ease I needed to add to the pattern. Now, if this doesn't fix my issues, I will report to you next week on what did. Okay. All right, so my sleeves are now finished. I'm just going to stick those over there, and we're just going to make quick work. I'm not going to sew my waist darts because I really just want to see how it fits. So I'm going to sew my shoulder darts right here, because I need that sewn so my shoulder seams match. So let's just sew shoulder darts. And one more shoulder dart. Like this. All right, and I already sewed my center back seam. See? So now I'm just going to sew the darts, only the bust and waist darts. I'm sorry, the shoulder dart and the bust dart on this muslin. And then my bust dart. All right, and then let me do the other side. See how quick we're sewing? I feel like this is speedy sewing. Here's my other dart. We'll do the bust dart first on this one. All right, and then we're going to do the shoulder dart. Shoulder dart. All right, if anyone did not know, today is National Cheese Day. I'm trying to rack my brain on what I can make for dinner for my daughter Anna, who will like to eat it because she's not a cheese fan. Whereas I'm a cheese maniac. Hi Kim, welcome. I'm sewing together a second muslin for the draft I did. I added some room for ease. All right, so now that I've got these sewn together, I'm going to just pin my shoulder seams together here, like this. I'm gonna have my my darts face out like this. I'll just finger press them a little bit, and then I will put this like this. And this one will go like this. So we're going to sew our shoulder and our shoulder and side seams now, and then I'll set the sleeves in, and then we can try it on and see if we like it better. So if you missed the beginning, you can go back and watch the beginning where I show how this fits and how snug it is, and you know, we'll see if what I did fixes it. I don't know if you guys can hear through my microphone, but the wind is howling outside my window. I feel like if it wasn't spring, it would be in the middle of a winter storm the way it's howling out there. All right, so let's sew this other shoulder seam. Okay. All right, now we're just gonna pop on the side seams, and then we'll set those sleeves in. I didn't pin these, so I have to fuss with them to get them to line up a little bit here. What do you think? What do you think of that sewing? That was pretty nice, right? It's down at the hem, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, let me just sew this last side seam, and then we'll set these sleeves in, and we'll see how it fits. Kind of excited. Oh. Okay, I sewed my dart intake upside down on the other side, but that's all right. I'm not worried about that. I am speed sewing, if anyone's wondering. I'm trying to hurry up and do this so we can see how it fits. now we're going to set the sleeves in, and this is how I do it. I just want to show you. Okay, so I turn my muslin so it's inside out. I'm going to have all my seams facing, all my seams are going to be facing the right side. So this is the wrong side of my armhole right here. Okay. I want to do it so you can see what I'm doing. So here's my armhole. Okay, and I'm going to take my sleeve, and that seam allowance is going to be face in on that. So this is the right side. Now I've got my back with my back and my front with my front. Okay, I put it in the hole, and then I match the underarm seam. So the first thing I'm doing is just matching the underarm seam with the side seam, and I put all my seam allowances facing, you know, pressing them to the back, basically. And now here's why I don't worry about notches. I come up the armhole this way, and what I'll do is I will just line up the base of the armhole and sleeve cap, you know, between 2.5 and 3 inches up, and I'll pin that at the notch if I have it there, and then I'll do the same thing in the front. So again, I'm just matching this whole thing 1-to-1, the underarm seam. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin the notch, which I did not mark, but I know it's about 1/2 inch towards the front. So this is the back of my cap here. I know it's about 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to pin this like this. So it's about 1/2 inch from center, because that's where the notch was approximately. If I have to adjust it, I will. So I pin that, and then you can see in the back I've got this much ease. So that's when I will get my both of my threads that I have from these two different gathering stitching rows here, and I'm going to pull them together, and we're just going to do this. So see how I'm petting it? Oh, Barbara can't wait to see. Hey, pins and bobbins and paint. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Linda. Die Hard 6. Jen, you deserve an Oscar. You guys are funny. I don't know. I got so excited to come on today, and mostly this turned into something I didn't think it would. Like, I really thought when I came on today, I was just going to be talking about the differences in sleeve cap height and mobility, but then once I got the other sleeve onto my shirt that I was working on, I realized that I don't know that it's the cap height that's causing the problem. So I want to eliminate the other reason of not having enough ease around the outside of my body. You know what I'm saying? Like where I measured. So if you're coming in late, I took a tape measure and I wrapped it around the top of me. So over my arms, across my back, and across my high bust. Like basically, like someone was giving me a bear hug, basically. And that was 50 1/4 inches approximately. So then I measured that level on the pattern, and the pattern was 1/2 inch smaller than my measurement, my body measurement. So I added ease, and now I want to see if that fits better. I mean, I don't know if that's going to fix my whole problem, but I mean, the ease we have to see, because a lot of times you have to adjust and give more room in the wing of the sleeve to make more mobility. But I just want to see what this does first. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me because it makes it more fun if I don't have to sew by myself. So I appreciate you guys sort of experimenting with me and seeing what this does. You know, every time I play like this, I feel like I go into a new class with more things that I can try if someone needs, you know, more help. Like every now and then I'll get somebody in a class that all my little standard things, you know, aren't working because they have a different sort of figure. So that's why I'm always trying to think outside the box on what else could be causing a problem. All right, so I'm now going to sew my sleeve on here. And if I can do it without catching any extra fabric, I'm going to give myself a gold star. So like I said, I'm speed sewing. Trying not to run over a pin. These gathers are not going to be super beautiful, but again, I just want to see if I have enough ease. Okay, I'm almost there. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to be afraid of setting in sleeves. Oh, Kim said, she said, where did you add ease? I will show you that after I finish sewing. I basically measured my high bust, my upper back, and across the cap, and I added the ease at that level. I'll show you. All right, let's see if I sew this without catching anything. Oh, yay. All right, I sewed it without catching anything, so I'm happy snappy there. So let me just set in this other sleeve. And then before I try it on, I will show you, for anyone who came late, where I measured. But in your head, just imagine like a bear hug. Like someone grabbing you from behind and hugging you like above your bust. That's basically where I measured. I'll show you. Because here's my theory. Okay, so my theory is that the lack of width in the cap was pulling the upper bust and high, upper back, was pulling it and making it tight because there wasn't enough fabric on the outer, on the outer sleeve because the cap was too narrow, basically. Also, I added a little bit of ease to my upper back because that was a little bit short. But I will tell you, I have drafted a lot of bodices a lot of different ways. I really like this draft. Like, I really like it. I feel like it was really, really well done. All right, so now I'm just going to pin my shoulder, and then I'm going to gather this sleeve up. Okay. All right, so let me pull this one first. So I like to do half the sleeve at a time. So like once I get the shoulder notch pinned, then I gather up the back. Ew, something happened with this gathering stitch. Let me, it's stuck. Something. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, so again, I'm just gathering up the cap so I can ease this in. And the smaller your stitches are for gathering, then the easier it is to create gathers that aren't going to be too big, so they cause, puckers in your seam. All right, so see, I've pulled that, got that. So let's just see. You know, plus I pushed out the back because I feel like the seam was too, you know, it wasn't reaching all the way. So I'm kind of excited to see how this is going to fit. All right. So let's see what we can see here. You know, I'm kind of looking at what I'm doing and making sure everything is evenly, you know, all the ease is distributed pretty evenly here. All right, let's sew this together and then I can try it on and see what we have. If I get little puckers, I don't care for this version. Like I said, I just want to see if I fixed my tight problem. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay. If I didn't catch anything, we're done. Let's see. Okay, so this is speed sewing, J. Stern Designs style. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, we're gonna try it on and see. Do do do, do do do, do 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 do. All right, I'm just sliding it on, and then we're gonna see. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Oh my God, I think I... How did I do that? I sewed one sleeve inside out. Oh my God, so one of my sleeves is not correct. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. All right, let's just see. I just want to see about the tightness. So one of my sleeves is inside out. It's not right, but I'm just gonna look at it anyway. Okay. All right, so let me just... I'm gonna overlap this an inch at my bust right here. I'm overlapping it an inch. Oh, see, I can see that that feels better already. Okay. All right, so I want to say even though I sewed one sleeve backwards, one of my sleeves is backwards, and you can tell it's backwards because okay, so my elbow dart is in the front on this sleeve. This sleeve is wrong. Okay, so we're not going to look at that sleeve, but this sleeve, I will tell you, it looks better, it feels better, and I can do this. You know, I can do this. I mean, this is a snug fitting shirt still, so I wouldn't expect to be able to do jumping jacks, but if I can lift my arms this high with it really not, you know, if it was buttoned, you know what I mean, I could lift my arms, right? And it feels better in the shoulder. And so I think what happened was, if we look at myself here, I feel like the tightness that was here was pulling, you know, this over because it was still too tight. It was too tight. So, you know, this is not pulling anymore. It's much more comfortable. So that was the fix. So I'm going to do it more carefully and fine tune it, you know, for a final. But yeah, the left sleeve is always the issue. Yeah, it's inside. I don't even know how I managed to do that because I was speed sewing. But I mean, but even with it inside out, this is the one, my elbow dart is in the front, and you can see it's weird at the elbow, but I mean, it's still not a bad fitting sleeve at the top. All right, so now, all right, so let me review what I did here for people who just came in. But I will tell you, I am very happy with this now. I can pull across without it being tight. Let me show you the back. So see when I do the back, right? I can pull across. It's not super tight. I can rotate around. I'm really, this is a nice fitting muslin now. Okay, so let me take this off, and I want to just review what fixed it since it fixed it, if that makes any sense. And I'm gonna do the same process to my my other shirt pattern too, to see. My other shirt pattern I think has another issue, but we don't have to do too many issues all at once here in one day. But let's just review. I'm gonna put my sewing machine out of the way. Okay. All right, so let's look at what I did and what I measured. Okay, so for people who are coming in late and didn't see what I measured, what I realized was, as I was feeling it, and I haven't even talked about this measurement yet. I might redo this as a Fit Tip Tuesday because I feel like this was like super helpful to figure this out. I measured like this. So across, you know, about, you know, 6 inches, well, no, 5 inches from the tip of my shoulder all the way around. That's how I measured. Okay, and I got 50 1/4. Then to check my pattern, what I did was I measured down on my sleeve 5 inches, and I measured here, and then I measured 5 inches down here. I measured here. I closed this dart and I measured here, and I also measured here, and I ended up needing, I was a 1/2 inch short, meaning I didn't have enough to even go around, so the fabric was stressing to wrap around me. So I ended up adding all of this, so 3/8, all of this that I'm coloring in pink, that was green. I added this in the back because my back is 15. It was only measuring, when I first measured it, it was only measuring 7 3/4, which is 15 1/2 inches. So I only had a 1/2 inch back here. So I added 3/8 of an inch more, which is an additional 3/4. So it's almost 16 inches now across the back. When I measured the front, I had this much extra ease off of a 1/2 inch. So it's 7 7/8. So I just left it there. Okay. And then on the sleeve, I cut the sleeve here, I spread it, and I added all of this. So all of this was added to give me more room. And I think this is what stopped the front and back from pulling the armhole onto my shoulder instead of keeping it where the armhole should be. You know, then of course, obviously I added all of this, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I take this sleeve off, my hand gets stuck in the opening. It's a little bit tight for me down here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it all the way and give myself an extra ½ an inch down here too, you know, for a final. But I added all of this ease in the sleeve. So that's how I fixed it. So I'm really kind of excited about this. And oh my God, it's almost 3 o'clock. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me till the end. I think my perfectly fitted shirt pattern, just to tell you what I think I'm going to try. Okay, so this is just my pattern that I was working on, and I didn't, I hadn't had a chance to get both sleeves on until a little bit ago. So I think with my perfectly fitted shirt, this shoulder seam is way too long. So I'm going to be taking it in here and scooping out the armhole a little bit here. So here I think this has to come in a little bit. I'm going to play with that, and I'll give you the final results on what I did for this next week. I wish I had time to do everything. I'm going to tell you, it's been a crazy, it's been crazy at my house. I've had one thing after another. Like every day I think, okay, today's a full day of working, and then something happens. So, you know, so I ran out of time. I wanted to have more done. But in any case, I'm really happy you guys hung out with me. And Barbara says, what a joy it is to hang out with you. Well, it is a joy for you to be here for me too. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending 2 hours of your day with me. Oh my goodness. Or almost 2 hours. So I have a really cool tool for Monday. I ordered it from Amazon. It's coming, and I'm super excited. Kim is asking, what method of measuring did you figure out your front and back measurement specifically? Okay, so I measured, and if you go back and watch, I took my shirt off and I had just my tank top on, and I showed how I lined up the outside edges of my tank top to measure armhole to armhole. So I used my efficient workflow for bodice fitting method of measuring. Okay, so I know my armhole to armhole in the back is 15 inches. And I know my armhole to armhole in the front is like 14 inches. So I use that and I cut it in half to get that, you know, to get that measurement. But I've never tried to measure all the way around like I showed you guys today. But if you think about it, it's almost like this fabric gets landlocked, okay? When you put your sleeves on, it's stuck, it's landlocked. And if this is too tight, from here to here is too tight, it's gonna pull this way, right? And then that's what I was feeling. I was feeling this was too tight. And then I was noticing the armhole was too far on my shoulder, but it wasn't that this was too wide, it was that this was too narrow, and it was pulling the armhole away from where it should be. So that's how I got the idea of trying to open all that up and give myself ease around the outside of the shirt. So was the sleeve fitting? Yes, but also I think it's upper bodice fitting, and it's a dimension I hadn't thought of. So I will be, you know, adding that to my process to double check for people, because, you know, especially if you have a prominent bicep and if you have a big ball of shoulder, that could throw everything off if you don't make enough room in your sleeve, even if your front and back bodice is fitting. So this was super exciting and fun for me. So I just want to thank you guys for really spending the time with me. Okay, and Betty's saying, very good. I can't wait to see the shoulder scoop. That's my problem. Shoulder is too long. All right, so I will share all of that next week. See, I really thought coming into today, I had the same problem in both muslins. And then once I got the second sleeve on right before I came on, I realized they're different problems. So when I started, if you are late and you start rewatching, you'll see I'm trying to combine them all into one into one thing. And then I realized a little bit into it that I had to just work on one thing instead of trying to address the problem. Like I had the same problem in both muslins because I didn't. So that's why I was a little bit in the beginning trying to decide, do I want to work on my perfectly fitted shirt or do I want to fix my muslin on my draft? And I went with the muslin on the draft because I'm super excited about this draft and I want to make a shirt out of it to see what it looks like. But I also want to fix my shirt too, so I will get it all done. Carol is saying, I like the idea of measuring around even before you make the sleeve. It might help beforehand. Yes. So now that I know that's a thing, that's going to be a new measurement we take. So see, this is me having an epiphany and you're experiencing it real time. Like I thought of that midstream during this live. I thought, well, wait a minute. If everything is feeling too tight, sometimes you can fix it by adding gussets or filling in the wings in the sleeve. Sometimes you can fix it, but I just felt like because it wasn't just tight in the back, it was also pulling my armholes over. And that's when I kind of thought to myself, all right, I think the sleeve cap is a problem. So there you are. So thank you guys for watching. I will show you what I did to fix the perfectly fitted shirt next week. And then after next week, this is a busy month. Hold on one second. So next week I have, Happy Dance. I'm going to be teaching the last week in April for Pennsylvania ASG, but it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I can tell you what happened during that workshop on Friday when I see you during Fab Fit Friday. So there you are. So I don't even have to cancel any Fab Fit Fridays this week. So I will be back in time for Fab Fit Friday for the next 2 weeks. I don't know about the next week after that though, because I'm going to Chicago to do the fabric fiber quilt show. Hold on one second. If anyone lives in the Chicago area, let me just see here. Let me see if I can find it fast. Okay, I'm gonna put a link in the chat. I think I can. Okay, so this link right here, boop, this is free admission into that fiber mission. Free admission into the oh wait, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, I just gave you the link. Hold on one second. Parking. Oh, hold on. I gave you that. That was the wrong thing. Hold on. Hold. Control C. This is okay. Okay. This link. Okay. Oh, right. So that link I sent is. Oh, is that the right link? Okay, I think that takes you there, but this is the link for free admission right here. For free admission, this is the actual link. Boop. There you go. And I'll be in the booth with Carol. And the name of the show, the official name of the show, which I should know, is... I know it's kind of embarrassing that I don't know. It costs $15. I don't know, it will save you money so you don't have to pay. But then also, let me just tell you the official name of the thing, because obviously it is... Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Hold on one second. It is the fabric fiber. I know I'm going to it. Oh, Fabric Fiber Craft Festival. Fabric Fiber Craft Festival. So if you click that link, you can get free admission. So there you go. This is what happens when I try to do something on the fly when I'm also live. So not this first one. I'm going to remove this one. Okay, so it's this for free admission. This is your link. It brings you right to the promo, and then you don't have to pay. All right, so that's where I'll be the first week in May. So if anyone's going to be in Chicago area, come and visit me in my booth with Carol from Ditto Form. All right, so now that I did all of that, I'm definitely signing off. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys next week. So thank you so much, and bye-bye.